Having completed the analysis of the four analytical dimensions, recurrent pedagogical patterns become evident across the observant and teaching experience. The evidence identified instructional strengths that should be preserved, as well as limitations that require pedagogical improvement. Importantly, these findings demonstrate how instructional planning, language management, learning management, and teaching methodologies are closely interconnected in shaping the students' opportunities to develop communicative competence based on this empirical evidence. The investigation now proceeds to the final conclusions and practical recommendations. The findings discussed throughout the analytical dimensions now converge into the principal conclusions of this investigation. Each conclusion is derived directly from the evidence previously present and is accompanied by practical recommendations intended to strengthen future EFL teaching practices. The first conclusion concerns teaching methodology. The investigation demonstrates that the grammar translation method remained the predominant instructional approach throughout most observed lessons. Although this methodology supports grammatical accuracy, it also promotes mechanical learning and reduces opportunities for spontaneous communications and learning autonomy. Therefore, grammar frequently becomes the instructional objective rather than a resource for meaningful communication. Based on this finding, it is recommended that teachers progressively transition toward communicative and task-based methodologies. Authentic communicative tasks, role plays, information gap activities, and problem-solving experience should allow grammar to support communicative instead of replacing it. The second conclusion refers to instructional planning. Although lesson sequences were coherent and appropriately organized, Classroom evidence demonstrates that their successful implementations depend largely on the teacher's capacity to manage unexpected classroom situations. Consequently, effective planning requires both well-structured lessons and pedagogical flexibility. Accordingly, teachers should implement proactive classroom management. uh, Accordingly, teachers should implement proactive classroom management frameworks that include predictable routines, clear behavioral expectations, flexibility pacing, and contingency strategies. These practices help preserve instructional continuity and reminding learning objectives despite classroom disruptions. The third conclusion concerns formative assessment. Feedback was predominantly collective and focused mainly on correcting general errors. As a result, many students received limited individualized support, reducing opportunities to address specific learning needs and promote continuous linguistic development. Therefore, teachers should implement personalized formative assessment through individual monitoring, target feedback, reflecting follow-up activities, and continuous assessment practices that responds to each learning's progress. The fourth conclusion addressed classroom participation. The observation stage revealed that classroom interaction remained predominantly teacher-centered and limited students' opportunities to practical actively and independently. However, during the teaching practice, collaborative activities produce greater learning engagement and more balanced distribution of classroom interaction. Consequently, teachers should adopt collaborative student-centered methodologies that incorporate pair work, cooperative learning, and structured group activities. These strategies encourage balanced participations while allowing students to provide more personalized instructional support. The third conclusion refers to language management across educational levels. The investigation identifies important difference between basic general education and bachillerato. In basic general education, classroom interaction remaining close to an equal distribution between English and Spanish. Although these support comprehension, frequently translation reduce opportunities for authentic language exposure. Conversely, greater use of English in bachillerato promotes stronger communication participation. For these reasons, instructions and teachers should implement different methodology pathways according to learners' proficiency levels. Beginner students should receive scaffolders communicative support with progressive increasing exposure to English, and whereas more advanced learning should be participate in highly communicative environments that maximize target language interaction. The sixth and final conclusions concern pedagogical flexibility. Through the teaching practices, successful instructions consistently depend on the teacher capacity to adapt instructional decisions according to immediate classroom realities. Uh, Students need to changing learning conditions. This ability emerged as one of the defining characteristics of effective professional practices. Accordingly, teachers, educators programs should prioritize the development of pedagogical flexibility and real-time instructional decision making. Future educators should be prepared not only to design effective lessons plans, but also adapt them confidently and appropriately within authentic classroom contexts. The systematization of these experiences has demonstrated the effective English language teaching is not determined by a single methodology or instructional strategy. Rather, it emerges from the teacher's ability to truthfully integrate planning, classroom management, meaningful language expose, formative assessment, uh, and pedagogical flexibility in response to the realities of each learning context. Beyond identifying strengths and limitations, this investigation has reinforced the understanding that every classroom experience represents an opportunity for continuous professional growth. Each challenge encountered, each instructional decision made, and each interaction with learners contributes to the development of more reflective, adaptable, and effective educators. It is hoped that the findings and recommendations preserved in this study will contribute not only to improving English teaching practices, but also to inspiring future teachers to view reflections, innovation, and lifelong learning as essential components of their professional identity. This concludes the presentations. Thanks you very much for your attention, and you are invited to share any questions or comments, which will be answered with great pleasure. Thank you very much again.